have a tendency to, number one, get in a really bad mood, and two, have like one or two events happen that lead to that bad mood. So how can we get ourselves out of that cycle? So if you don't know me, I'm Laura Dudek. I am the women's leader and marketing director at the Edge Church here in Cleveland, Ohio. I am the executive director of Rescue for Love, and I'm the author of Scars of Grace. So we're going to jump right in. So first, I want to share with you the reason why I'm even posting this video, which all has to do with my adorable 12-pound little pug named Mila. So earlier today, I think it was like noon, we headed out to go potty. And if anyone has a dog, you know, especially in the puppyhood, you know, it's potty time. You know, this is going to be an adventure. And for us, my husband and I, we live in an apartment building that is 4 flights up with no elevator. Like, it's literally 63 stairs up and down, okay, both ways. So it's over 120 steps. So we're in this mode of like puppy training. So it's every 3 hours having to go out with Mila, teaching her how to go potty, the whole deal. If you miss 1 hour, she's going to have an accident, right? So it's 12 o'clock, it's potty time. We're out there and she will not go. Like, she will not go. She's refusing. So we're out there for, kid you not, over a half an hour just to go potties, okay? And I know this seems like such a minuscule thing, but if you have kids or if you have a puppy, you know what I'm talking about, right? So we're out there for a half an hour. On top of this, I know that I have super sore legs, okay? So I did boot camp on Monday. I did cardio yesterday. If anyone is doing anything fitness-wise, you know, when your legs are shot, like, they're shot. So I didn't even want to be walking any extra steps. I'm literally thinking, Mila, go potty as soon as we get outside because mommy cannot handle any more steps, okay? So this whole situation kind of threw me off. Like, I was just really upset. Like, I was upset with her. I was upset with the situation. I'm thinking, why can't you go potty? This is super frustrating. And to be honest, like, I came to that point that it easily stole my joy in that moment. And I started thinking in that moment, like, you know, why are we here? This is so upsetting. I don't know if anyone has been in this situation before, you know, especially with something that you can't control. So I'm sitting there and I'm getting so frustrated and I'm like, okay, so why do we live 4 flights up? This is so stupid. You know, like, I just want to be in a house. This is so silly. We need a backyard. And then it kind of goes spiraling, you know, out of control. Anyone's been there? Okay, so you're just spiraling. Then you're like, well, we can't get a house because I don't have a real job, you know, so we can't afford one, and you're just spiraling, like, out of control. And so from that moment, I went upstairs and I tried to have my moment with the Lord. Anyone try to have a moment with the Lord when you're just angry, you know? And so I'm sitting there, Mila's calmed down, I have my coffee, and I'm like, I'm in a really bad mood. Like, this just sucks, you know? Anyone been there? It just sucks. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, Lord, like, how do I get out of this? How do I actually not have this ruin my day? And he just showed me a couple things just about me personally that I need to address, you know, some questions I can ask myself to get out of this really bad mood. And so the first thing was, number one, is it worth stealing my joy? I think that's a question we can always ask ourselves in any situation. If we're in a bad mood, if we're in a really, in a series of, you know, bad moods throughout the day, we can ask ourselves in that moment, is it worth taking my joy? Is it worth stealing the moments of love and compassion that I could have with my husband? Is it worth sending my entire day into chaos? And I can guarantee you, your answer will probably be no. It's not worth it. It just isn't. You know, we live in a world right now that, and I hate going in this direction, you know, but it's just uncertain. We have so much stuff happening, and we have to ask ourselves the question, is it really worth it? Is it really worth for this singular moment to steal the love and the joy that I could have throughout my entire day? And I started really thinking about that. I'm like, it's not worth it. You know, like, working with a little dog who can't control herself. She's learning. I'm learning. You know, there just has to be some compassion here because it can't ruin my entire day. And as I started thinking about it, you know, I started thinking about kids, right? And we always tell our kids, or, you know, I have a niece and a nephew. And so we'll tell them, you know, do you think about the consequences to your actions? Do you think about what's going to happen if you act like this? And I don't think we ask ourselves or tell ourselves enough, have we thought about the consequences to our feelings? because our feelings will so often dictate and control our entire day. You know, if I let myself stay in that angry mode, in that frustrated mode, I could easily, you know, ruin the moments that I have with my husband and be short with him when he got home. I could ruin the moments that I have with my own puppy in her puppyhood, you know, the few days left that I have with her. It could ruin the attitude I have with my women's group or towards anyone I encounter all day long. And to me, if I ask myself the question, is it really worth stealing my joy? The answer will always be no, because it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. So that's the first question, is it worth this situation, this fight that I'm having? Someone cut me off when I was at the store. Now I'm so angry. Is it really worth it? Is it really worth stealing your joy and your peace for the rest of your day? Guarantee you, you're going to say no. So the second question that you can ask yourself, and this is very practical, is there something I can do to lead my emotions, my thoughts, my behavior into peace and joy? And I will say this, we often let our emotions guide our entire day. And I am so guilty of this. I'm a feeling type person. My husband's probably laughing right now because he knows that I am very emotionally charged almost at all times. So, you know, I lead with my emotions a lot. You know, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, you know, and it's so easy to let those things dictate the rest of my day. They dictate how I, you know, may act towards people or how I view certain situations. I'm sorry, guys, if you can't hear. It started to rain. Sorry. And, you know, I can't do that. You know, we can't do that. We can't live letting our emotions guide us. And you think about it like a steering wheel, right? So if we're starting our day, you know, putting ourselves in cruise control, moving along, right? And then, you know, if we just let the wheel go and let it direct itself, any change in the road, in the wind, you know, anything will derail the car. And so we all know if you're not having your hands on the steering wheel on cruise, there's going to be an accident. It's not going to be good, you know. And I think that is such a perfect illustration for our emotions, that if we just set on cruise control all day long and let other things just come and derail us, whether it's things that people have said to us, circumstances that are going on around us, maybe how a coworker acted or a teacher treated us or a grade that we got, or, you know, whatever it is, if we just leave our hands like off the wheel and let ourselves go with whatever we're feeling in that moment, that's not going to lead us into a good situation. In fact, we're probably going to crash, and there's going to be some kind of repercussion or consequence later on. And that's just not a biblical way of living. That's not a godly way of living. And it's not living in the fruit of the Spirit. And one of the fruits of the Spirit is self-control. So we have to have both hands on the wheel, if you want to say that, being aware of our emotions, being aware of where we're at throughout the day, and being able to guide ourselves to say, okay, I'm not feeling good right now, and I need to direct myself. I need to get really good at knowing myself and how to direct that into a healthy, balanced place. And so that leads into the next question, which is exactly that, of what can we do to get ourselves out of that funk, to feed our souls. And so I was in this place, we're going to go back to my situation, sitting on the couch with my cup of coffee, trying to have my moment with the Lord, and praying through and making the thing way over spiritual. We all do that, right? We just spiritualize everything. Everything's a spiritual attack, and not saying that they're not happening, you know, but we make everything like that. And so I'm in this moment, and I'm trying to pray through my emotions. And I'm like, oh, why do I feel angry? Why do I feel frustrated? You know, when we just go there. And I just felt like the Lord was just nudging very, very compassionately of like, you know, you can do something to get out of this. Your emotions aren't leading you. And so I started thinking about the things that would make me feel better. I started thinking about the things that I could practically do to get myself out of the funk. And so I thought of three things. The first one was connection, adventure. I love doing new things. And the other one was doing stuff that's creative. I love creating things. And so I'm thinking, okay, so I can't do anything really adventurous today. The most adventurous I'll get is probably going to Aldi. So I can't really do that, but I can do the other two. So I can have some sort of connection with people, or being outside and just being able to be around people, or I can do something creative. So I sat down, I started doing work for a client, and I just started creating a poster. It was the most simple thing that I could do to get my mind outside of my emotional bubble where I was. Because in a very practical standpoint, for me, I can't just sit and soak with the Lord when I'm really angry or when I have this emotional, like my emotions are heightened. So I don't know if anyone else can do that. If you can, that's so amazing. But I can't just sit and soak and have my emotions change, because I'm like a cesspool of like anger. And so I'm just circulating, or whatever the word would be, in this cycle of my own emotions. And so I have to have some kind of distraction to get me out of that. And so I knew, okay, so the first thing I can do is I can start doing work. I can start creating things, okay? And then the other thing I can do is I can connect. So I thought of two things immediately. The first thing was having someone disrupt me, which is putting on my favorite pastor, my favorite preacher, Havilah Cunnington. I put on a message and I started feeding my soul with things that were outside of my own thoughts, that were just going in this cycle of anger and frustration, or just selfishness, all those different things, all the doubts. And so I started getting myself, my chin up a little bit to see a different perspective, to have someone speak some life when I really couldn't speak life in that moment to myself. And the other thing I thought I could do was just going to Target. I love being around people. I'm not talking about retail therapy. I don't necessarily think that's healthy, all the time. But there is something to say about going outside. I knew that me being in the apartment, a place that, at that time I was like, why are we here? That kind of thing. I have to get outside of that. And so I started thinking, okay, I can go to Marshall's, I can go run some errands, I can grab a cup of coffee, and I can just get outside of my routine right now to recharge and to recalibrate my thoughts and my emotions. And even thinking about those things really helped me to just get outside of that bad mood. And so I started thinking about the things that would feed my soul. And so I want to, kind of focus on you right now of, what would feed your soul? What would be something that you're thinking, I'm in this terrible mood, nothing can make it better. Maybe you're on your way home, or you are home and you're in this wicked mood because something happened at work, or something happened at school, or maybe something just happened as soon as you got home. And you need to recalibrate. You need to put your hands back on the wheel and take control of your emotions. So I want you to think about the things that would feed you, the things that would make you feel so much better. And I know that there is a difference between like having external things feed us and relying on those things to make us happy. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a soul need that you're saying, okay, there's something not right here and I need to distract myself and I need to cut off this pattern of unhealthy thoughts in my mind right now, which is anger, which is just this bad mood, frustration, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Okay. So I want you to think about that. And then there's a third question, and this is a follow-up question that if you're in a bad mood and you're trying to get out of it, you probably won't be able to address it in the moment, because it's often something that's a little bit too deep and we're just trying to get you like emotionally stable. That is like the goal right now, is stability, okay? So the question afterwards, after you've had some time to relax, you've had some time to decompress, you're in that better place, and the question is there a bigger picture to this? Meaning, is there a deeper soul need that I need to address? Because for me, I started thinking about, why was I such an easy target to have a bad day? You know what I mean? I don't know if that's proper English or grammar, but you know what I mean. So if I'm just out with my dog and she wouldn't go potty, the most simple of things, it should not be that easy to set me off or to get me off course in having a peace-filled day. And so I started thinking about it. I'm like, okay, well, right now I feel a little bit out of control. I feel like I don't have control of my job. I don't have control of my chosen career or the people around me, where I live. I just feel very much out of control. And so that, to me, that experience with Mila was this trigger of saying, you really aren't in control. You really can't do anything about this. So your legs hurt, they're sore, it's a little chilly out, you've got work to do, you're distracted, you're all these things, and it's very easy in this moment to have her actions derail you from the joy that you should be having all day. And so I want to have you press into that, whether it's right now or if it's later when you've gotten yourself kind of emotionally stable, like we said. to really question and say, is there a deeper soul need? Do I feel out of control right now? Do I feel like I'm not loved? Do I feel like I'm operating on empty and I'm exhausted, whether it's emotionally or spiritually or physically? I'm just tired, really addressing those things, because I can guarantee you that if that need is not met and it's not dealt with, if there's another situation, whether it's with a coworker, a dog, your child, whatever it is, if it's with a sales clerk, especially around Christmas time, it's going to happen again. You're going to find yourself in the exact same place. You're going to be angry, frustrated, and you're going to find yourself in that bad, wicked mood that no one wants to be around. Even you. You don't want to be around you when you're in a bad mood, okay? So deal with the deeper need. Really ask the Lord, okay, how do I deal with this? Because so often it is not about the situation. It's about the health of our soul. It's about what we're craving internally, spiritually, what our soul is needing and desiring after. So I'll go over those 3 things you can do again. The first one is ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth taking my joy? Is this little situation or this little blip in my entire day worth possibly taking the loving, compassionate moments that I could have all throughout my day, or the moments I have with Christ, to bring joy to somebody else? Is it worth stealing those things? The answer will always be no. The second thing is there something I can practically do to lead my soul into, better emotions, better behaviors, or better thought patterns? So what is it that you actually can do? Can you take a drive? Can you grab a cup of coffee and just chill for a second? And I want to say this too. If you're on your way home, or if you have someone waiting for you and you're in a really bad mood, I can guarantee you that if you take 10 minutes, if you're 10 minutes late and deal with your soul, you will make everything else better. It is worth spending that time getting yourself readjusted, recalibrated, because I can tell you the time you spend with people in a great mood will be so much better than spending more time with people and being in a really, really bad mood. Okay, so think about that. Just take a few moments and just address what's going on. And it doesn't have to be this heightened spiritual thing. It can be as practical as saying, I need to go to Target and buy a Christmas tree topper. That's what I need to do right now, and it's totally good. And then later, the third question that you can ask yourself is there a deeper soul need here? Was the situation just a trigger where I was experiencing something that just touched on, just pricked something that was going on that really needs to be addressed with the Lord? So I hope that these things maybe blessed you, helped you if you're having a really, really bad day. I'm sorry if you're having a really, really bad day. I was almost there myself earlier. So I would love for you to let me know, are there things that you do to make yourself feel better when you're having a really bad day? What is that? I'd love to hear your opinions or even your thoughts on some of my questions that you could ask yourself. And I'd love for you to share this. If there's someone that you've been texting back and forth or Snapchatting with, that they're having a really bad day, maybe you just share this with them and say, here's a couple questions you can ask yourself if things just aren't going so hot during your day. So I